Sorry, I wasn't quite ready. I hit the button on the camera anyway. So, let's do this. Reason I'm making this video and talking to you right now is coming up almost on a year that we did the rusteration on the Ford L9000. I wanted to do a quick good, bad, and ugly on the rebuild, how things are going. We've been running the truck for a little while. We plowed over the winter, didn't make any money. What else did we do? Been running the truck almost daily now, you know, just because I like it. Doing a lot of site work, working on site, maybe hauling a load here and there. Did haul one day all day long on the big road, so that was cool. So I figured good time as any to make a video showing, you know, the good, the bad, the things I might have done differently, all that. So let's get into it. So if you haven't seen the videos, go check out the channel. It's a whole playlist of a whole bunch of videos, like 20 videos or something. What the truck looked like when we started, throughout the whole process. And here's how it ended up. In fact, I'll put a link to that playlist in the video right about now. You'll see it somewhere. Things are holding up well. It's a mess, so bear with me. It's been a week since I washed it, and I haven't once cleaned the engine yet. I've been a little too busy, so we're gonna get into that in a minute. The first thing, ugly, I'm gonna talk about is around every hanger, most of the bolts, the paint has chipped. You can see up here is not bad. Around these bolts. I believe it was just when we were tightening up the bolts, the paint was hard and just cracked. So then the rust kind of started in behind, you know, a little surface rust, so then it's kind of grown. So I scraped it in preparation. I'm gonna clean this really well, put a little primer, probably just brush paint it. As you can see, I've already done it once, but it was just a quick job. Need to do it right and really clean it well, get some primer on it, and I'm gonna paint probably all the bolts. Paint around the bolts, make everything uniform, make everything clean. So that's one thing I'm not super happy about, but that's okay, we'll get through that. One good thing is that red paint's still shining. Like I said, it's dirty right now, but that held up really well. I'm very happy with that. Still need to paint the dump body. We haven't got to that yet. So I'm gonna do under here the same red, all of this. And the sides I had planned for gray. I have a dark gray color. I was kind of holding out so I could run the truck red, white, and blue for the holiday, 4th of July. So now I'm kind of stuck. Do I leave it blue or do I go dark gray? Not sure yet, but we'll see. If you have any ideas, drop it in the comments. What you think might look good. next thing I'd talk about is I welded these hinges on. This all comes as a kit, this angle iron with the hinge itself on it. So I cut that, welded the whole thing together myself. That's why it looks like shit. And same with the pintle. I welded all that together. It hasn't come off yet, so that's all I can really say about that. I'm in the process of building an apron for this so I could keep all the dirt and rocks from hitting all of the pintle and license plate and all that. It's been on my list of things I needed to do, so I actually ordered the steel the other day. I've got this piece cut out. This will be the contour of it. Something like that. Let's see if I can get it to stick again. Bear with me. It'll be something like that. Down a couple inches lower. I've got it up too high right there, but that'll be the contour of it. Hopefully it'll be enough to kick the stuff away from the license plate, pintle hook, all that. That's a bad, I'd say, but I never had one to begin with, so we'll get that done. What else can I tell you about? Trying to think of things that are more along the lines of what we did. Some of this stuff is gonna just be regular, you know, dump truck life, but the paint on the cab holding up good. I'm pretty happy about it. Gotta touch this up. I think I'm gonna I think this comes right off. I think I'm gonna take it off, maybe put something different there, just because it's starting to not look too great. You could see it's kind of bleeding, you know, but that's probably gonna happen. I'll hop up in the cab. A little dirty in here, a little dusty, but I got my CB in finally. That's working good. Actually got a good match with the old Fire Stick. I was pretty happy with that. Sander controls. This is the computer for it, the screen. These are the controls. That's all working. It's a little tough spot here to run it. Look at the screen while I'm driving, if I have to. But it's so nice because it's tucked out of the way. I still have floor space. I still have room in here. So we'll take that. Yeah. Not much I can say about it. I mean, the cab's, I'm pretty happy with how all the dashboard turned out and everything. These two axle oil temps. These are the two rear ends. Something I finally got around to yesterday. Oh, you want to see an ugly? I'll get back to it. Here's something I did yesterday. New sensors and fixed up the wiring. I had to weld a bolt back onto the rear end for the ground wires. I don't know how well that's coming out, but we'll look at the rear. Probably a little more clear. So, new plugs. wired those up. And new sensors. Checked the oil looked good. So that was nice. Here's an ugly. I was so disappointed with this shit. I got some stuff that was supposed to glue this on, and it didn't. It ripped off the paint and didn't even glue. So now I've got to find some really good glue, kind of jam it in there and press it on and hopefully cover up that mess. So that's very disappointing. That's the worst thing I've got to deal with. I guess we're doing okay. Engine paint's holding up pretty well. Looks like the underside of the compressor needs to be touched up. Little chips here, but that's not bad. You can see I've got a power steering leak that we had before. This, I believe, has a pinhole crack in the bottom around this hose that comes out. So I've got to replace that. I've been dragging my feet a bit on that, which I gotta just get it done. But that being said, ATF is it has rust inhibitors in it. So when we took the truck apart, this whole area was like brand new because of that leak. So part of me doesn't feel so bad letting it leak. But I've got to get that fixed. It looks like hell. It's a big mess. So the front end still needs to be painted. That's a little project I've got to do. A little needle scaling and wire wheel, and probably just hand paint that with a brush. Basically what I did on the rear ends, you know, those are all done now. Just needle scaled for 4 or 5 days, and then brush painted everything, I think, for 2 days. Couldn't believe how long it took. Here's another ugly, which I've got something in the works, possibly. This hood is pretty toasty. If you look at the support on the other side, where it sits on the cab, and this side, just obliterated. So it's not even utilizing these anymore, it's sitting up on the cowle. And it sags down quite a bit, and it doesn't quite fit right because it's all rotted and pushed out and kind of wrecked. So, like I said, I've got something in the works. It's not perfect, but it's a parts truck, possibly has a hood. Hopefully things work out with that. This is supposed to have a rubber bumper here, so I'm hoping I can drum up one of those. What else can I tell you about? Oh, another really not great thing. It was like this to begin with. This has always been welded here on this pitman arm. And, you know, plan was to replace it, obviously, but it's cutting into the tire. Because when you turn, it touches the tire right here. So I've got to be a little bit more careful when I drive it. But you can see the pitman arm on this side is wrapping around the steer box quite a bit more. So I'm going to make some calls, find a pitman arm that goes on a TRW steering box that is the same contour as the Ford, and hopefully I could get that. I'm close to due on a service, so I've been holding out on like this filter I need a set of fuel filters. Those haven't been done for since sometime in January, I think. I did them on the road. Yeah, January 6th. So I'm definitely overdue as far as that goes. So I'm gonna get a service done on it coming up here pretty soon. Like to do some engine work to this. I know the fuel pump's a little tired when I originally got the truck and put it together, or got it running right, I should say. I had the fuel pump apart. I know it's worn. So I'd like to do that, rebuild the fuel pump, you know, service, run the overhead. I've never done it, so I'm sure that's due. So I'd like to do, you know, quite a bit of engine work to this. It's running well. I've got it turned up pretty good now. Pretty happy with the way she's pulling, but could always be better. So we'll get some stuff done like that on it. Who knows how crazy we'll get. But back to my original what I wanted to talk about, not future projects, just things that we did might have done differently. This area, you can see the rust is starting to bleed through. I used Rust-Oleum paint and rattle can paint to do that as I was working on the cab. It was kind of just sitting on the ground and I just hit it quickly. I should have used a better quality paint. I think it probably would have helped. Or when I painted the cab, painted the cowl as well with the same paint, because that's just starting to kind of bleed through and not look that great. So I kind of wish I would have used something a little better, but that's okay. You know, I could put more paint on it. Another ugly thing that never really got addressed is, let's see if I get a good way to look at it. That PTO leaks. It's got a drip, so it drips overnight. So what I kind of can show you, because I've got one kicking around somewhere. Oh, right here. What leaks is this. So this mounts to your PTO. This is the hydraulic pump. So this is bolted up to your PTO. Your cable comes down and pulls this in and out and directs flow of the oil up or down, you know, whatever you're running. So the seal right here on mine leaks, and it was in my plans to do it, didn't have the time, couldn't drum up the parts for it without really tearing into stuff, so that got put off. So it's got a bit of a drip, you know, normal dump truck stuff. Like I said, I mean, that's not really rebuild stuff, but what else do you want to hear about? Yeah, I mean, we did the tires finally. Went through the winter with the old tires. I wanted to, when I had all the wheels off, I painted the insides red. The inside rims are red now. So I cleaned those all up, nice. Painted them and polished the outers. Like I said, this thing's pretty dirty right now, but I polished the outers. The rims aren't in the best shape. I mean, they came off the Sterling. They had been beat with rocks and everything being dropped on them. So they're not the best, but they shined up pretty good. And while I had all apart, that's when I said, okay, it's time to paint the rear ends, I had a little work I wanted to do. Cleaning up back here, doing some welding, painting. What else can I talk about? All this stuff is beautiful. It's so dirty right now. I really shouldn't even be filming this, but I wanted to show, I wanted to get it out there. But I mean, all of this is like really, really came out spectacular. Really nice paint. So I did that. We mounted the new sneaks. Dump body's been doing good. Been pretty happy with that. Got tall sides on it. You got to be careful. You could overload it with no problem. So that's something a little bit different than the other truck, but been holding up well. Plowed through the winter. I broke my plow at one point. That's kind of unrelated. That was just like a snow plow incident. Nothing to do with the rebuild again, but a little bit of work I did do. I changed that brake can. So now they've all been done recently. Put a couple slacks back here, slack adjusters. Just normal wear and tear kind of stuff, not even for the rebuild. What else can I talk about? What else you want to hear about? Oh, I put these on. Those I didn't do right away. So originally the Ford has like a small union, it's like a 3-way junction block. So they bolt to the frame, and you can run 2 lines, or you know, just a junction for 3 lines, or however. I've got one of the originals right there, still intact. I did have to put one here. I don't know if you can see it because of that hydraulic line, but that's it right there. We did those kind of over the winter-ish, I think. Just been picking away at things that I can when I have time. Been super slammed with regular work and just trying to live. So I just pick away when I can, do different things. Stack's holding up pretty good. This clamp broke on me. I made these out of, what did I use? Just regular hose clamps. That's why it's got this thing on it. This needs to be addressed. I need to come up with a better, like some bigger clamps, more heavy duty than this. So that was on my agenda, but I haven't got around to it yet. So this one actually just broke back in here where it's press welded together. It just snapped. It's just not heavy duty enough. So I gotta address that, come up with something a little better. I kind of did it like in the middle of the night, just trying to get the truck ready for the inspection and all that, so I haven't really addressed it yet. These steps, I know you could probably see it. They're off. They're not. The top one's a little wonky. The bottom one looks fine. So what happened is this band ended up full of rust and junk and everything. So by the time I cleaned it, it lost weight. And I don't know what happened, but I cannot get them straightened out, no matter how, because I can kind of roll it back and forth, no matter how I do it. I can't get it to come out right. So it needs to be replaced anyway. It's kind of junk. So I did this one. This is a stainless band, and I took these mild steel or whatever you want to call it, and welded them to the band. and made my own out of just a regular one I could buy locally. And I'll have to do the same thing again. I'm just looking at it. This seems pretty even. So I'll probably leave this one in the same spot. This one I've got to tighten it up. I've got to lower it down. Maybe both of them need to be lowered down, huh? Yeah, the bottom one seems like it's off as well. But I couldn't roll it back anymore. I think it was all the way. For whatever reason, that thing stretched out. And I just could not get it where it needed to be. Yeah, I'm right at the end of the stud there. So, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I probably got to address that at some point, but the 415 exhaust paint or whatever I used did not hold up that great. I think it was just regular grill paint on the turbo, but this thing was pretty rough shape to begin with, so I guess for it being a sander and out in the shit all the time, I really can't complain about that. What else you want to hear about? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I want to do. I've got a whole list of things I pick away at and write down more as I go. Those brackets belong to the inner fenders. They go in here. Haven't got around to it. I've got to clean them up, get them painted. That's why I've got a couple extra bolt holes here and there. Other than that, I've got one hole there that used to be an exhaust hanger, which I may still employ, possibly down the road. Don't have to. And then same here. This one was that one's to hold the wiring harness. I never put that one back either. So I've got a few extra holes. Not really extra, but they look like it. So that's something I want to address. Other than that, the holes, sorry, I think I was filming the wall for a second. The holes I did drill turned out pretty well. Here's my list. Yeah, it's kind of a growing list. It's an old truck, so things come up. But what can I tell you about? One thing I'll say is, if I was gonna do it again, I did learn after doing the first rail, drilling the holes, the best way that I found, because the rails shifted, because it's a double frame, so the inner rail twisted a bit when I took them apart. I don't know if there's any way to avoid that, if maybe you put some bolts through it, if you're able to just hold it together. Maybe you could have gone that route, but putting the old rail on top of the new one and marking them, I used different size drifts or center punches to line them up. I'd have to use a smaller one and try and get a bit of an angle on it to get it straight where I wanted it. So some of them, when I did this rail, I had to do quite a bit of reaming to get them quite right. When I did the second rail, I got a little smarter. I marked everything, color coded it to size the way I did the other side. But then before I drilled, I took the spring hangers, anything that I had that I knew was gonna bolt to the frame in that specific pattern, that specific area, I'd put it on the frame and I'd tune it up. So like I'd take the spring hanger and I'd put it on the frame and I'd say, okay, like I've got 3 lined up, you know, a couple of them aren't, and I'd straighten it out, and then I'd make a new, like, drill here mark. So that worked out a lot better. The other side, I don't remember reaming any, maybe just when I put on the hydraulic tank. No, actually the hydraulic tank went right on, like, smooth as silk. So I don't remember reaming those. The other side went so much smoother. I already had a little bit of a system. The other thing, I would have got the frame rails a little bit, well, couldn't have gotten them any sooner than what I did, but if I could have got them earlier, left them outside to rust, that would have been the best way to get off the mill scale. Then, you know, you could clean the rust off a lot easier than the mill scale. That stuff's pretty stout. That was a little bit of work to get that off. So that's something I would have done a little differently if I had more time. What else can I tell you about? The bolts. I got my bolts. I got a majority of them from Aquidneck Fasteners down in Fall River, Mass. They were great. The kid down there is awesome. Very knowledgeable. They don't have everything, but they have a lot. So he was good. He got me a lot, and he pointed me in the right direction to get some stuff I was looking for. One I had trouble with was these bolts. Those are a grade 8. They were kind of 7.5 inches long, I think. They were pretty long. I wasn't able to get them in a flange bolt like the other frame bolts because of the length. So I had to settle for grade 8. That's okay. I ended up getting the rest of them from McMaster's car. It's kind of like the Amazon of bolts. You just order it, they're like here the next day. It's a little more expensive, but they have such a wide range of bolts and they come in, you know, right away. So that worked out great. If I was gonna do it again, I'd maybe do the same thing, or maybe just do McMaster's and just order everything. You can order it by the box. They, you know, 50 or 100 in a box, whatever it is. It would have simplified things a bit. It would have saved me a trip. I think I spent a day calling around, you know, driving around different places trying to find shit. So that's something I might have done a little differently. One thing I do have to address is the mud flaps, where they landed. I've just left them because I knew when I moved that flap, it's probably gonna be on some of the stuff I fabricate for the apron. I'm gonna add a set in the front to keep rock chips off of the battery box and the hydraulic tank. So that's something I've got to address coming up. It's on my list, I think. It's on this list, I know that. Yeah, other than that, I mean, maybe small things I would have done a little differently. You know, it's tough to say what you would have done differently when you were so up against, you know, as far as time goes. But if time wasn't a factor, it's definitely a few little things I would have addressed along the way. But 2.5 months is kind of a short period of time to get all this work done and change the cab and rewire everything and just bring it back to life. So one thing I did want to talk about, what I've got coming up, is August 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I believe I'm going to go to the Rockbusters show in New Hampshire. It's an antique construction equipment show. It's in New Hampshire. You'll have to look up the town. It escapes me right now, but yeah, I think I'm gonna go there. Probably bring the truck. My grandfather's 933 track loader. We'll probably run that up there on the trailer. It's not Not restored, not, it is what it is. It runs and it operates, but we probably won't work it. It's just too, kind of just be there. And I'll bring the truck. It will not be done. I don't know if it ever will be done, but it's done enough to drive, and I love driving this truck. So if you're watching this, if you're local, if you feel like stopping in, check it out. It's a great show, awesome event. I mean, what can you do for, just a couple of bucks of, can't even buy breakfast for, what they charge you to get in for the day. And all the guys there are just great. We went last year, and it was just a great time. Really cool to see all the old stuff just moving around. So we're gonna go there, and then later on in August, there is the Bay State chapter, ATCA, Antique Truck Club of America. So that's the Bay State chapter, is doing a truck show. They have it every year. Lancaster, Mass, Bolton Fairgrounds. I think I'm gonna go. Never done a truck show. Never showed a truck before. Like I said, the truck will not be done, and I know that. And I'm just gonna do my best to get it there and get it cleaned up, and we'll be there. I'm gonna try and do it just to have some fun. It's not a show queen. It's not gonna be the nicest truck there, but it was a lot of work. We brought this truck basically back from the dead, worse than the scrapyard probably would have had. So that's pretty cool. I wanna show it off a little bit. So if you're watching this, if you're in the area, if you feel like going, again, same thing. Admission's so cheap. It's a few bucks. So check it out. Look it up online. You'll find it. August 24 and 25, I think I just said. Yep, 24th, 25th. Yeah, general admission, $5. Kids are free. I mean, come on, So I think that the truck, will fit in there a little bit better than, the Chrome Shop shows or the Gear Jammers, that's a different realm. So I'm kind of looking forward to going and checking that out. And if you're watching this, you feel like going, maybe we'll see you there. But with that, I'll sign off. We'll catch you guys on the next one, and you be good and be safe. We'll see you.